All right, let's talk about the secret weapon behind the entire AI revolution. I'm talking about the tech that's giving AI, well, a memory, a way to connect the dots, understand concepts, and basically think in a way that just wasn't possible until now.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever searched for, say, cars that are safe for families? You're not just looking for a web page that has those exact four words, right? No. You want to see crash test ratings. You want articles about SUVs with the best safety features, maybe even some stuff about minivans. You're looking for an idea, a concept. And for traditional search engines, that's a really, really tough problem to solve. Okay, so let's dig into that. We'll start with the old way of doing things and see exactly why just searching for keywords is, well, it's not enough anymore. And this is really the heart of it. On the one hand, you've got your traditional databases. Think of them like a super literal librarian. You ask for the book Apple, you get the book Apple. End of story. But vector databases, they're totally different. They work more like, well, like our brains. You mention Apple, and they know you might also be thinking about fruit, or maybe the company Apple and iPhones, or even healthy snacks. See? It's about the context surrounding the word, not just the word itself. So that brings us to the big solution, this whole new way of thinking about databases, one that's actually built to get what we mean. All right, so what is a vector database really? At its core, it's a system that stores information in a totally new way. Instead of just storing words or numbers, it turns everything, and I mean everything, into these things called high-dimensional vectors. Now, don't let the name scare you. Just think of them as a unique numerical fingerprint for every piece of data, a fingerprint that captures its true essence. The process that makes these fingerprints, that's called vector embedding. And honestly, this is where the magic happens. A machine learning model looks at a piece of data, could be a word, a whole sentence, even an image, and translates it into a long list of numbers. That's the vector. But here's the really cool part. Things with similar meanings get similar-looking number lists. So the vectors for king and queen will be super close to each other in this mathematical space. But the vectors for king and, I don't know, cabbage, they're going to be miles and miles apart. It's a map of meaning. Okay, I get it. High-dimensional vector space sounds pretty intense, right? So let's forget the math for a second and use a really simple analogy to nail this down. I want you to imagine a huge, massive library. But in this library, there's no alphabetizing, no Dewey Decimal System. Just throw all that out the window. It works on a whole different principle. Instead, every single book is placed on a shelf based on its topic, on its core ideas, its themes, its concepts. The meaning of the book is what decides where it lives. So what does that look like? Well, a book about the Apollo moon landing might be right next to a textbook on astrophysics, which is right next to a biography of Neil Armstrong. Makes sense, right? And a book about the New York Yankees, that's going to be way over in a totally different part of the library, hanging out with books about basketball and soccer. Everything is grouped by what it's actually about. So in this smart library, if you find a book you love and you want something similar, what do? You just look at the books right next to it. Its neighbors are the most conceptually similar books. And that, right there, is exactly what a vector database does. It's a library for data, organized by meaning, so finding related stuff is as simple as looking next door. Okay, so this is all really cool, but why is everyone talking about this now? What's the big deal? Well, it turns out that vector databases are the key missing ingredient for AI, for large language models. They give AI a memory, a real long-term specialized memory. And the killer app for this is something called retrieval-augmented generation, or as everyone calls it, RAG. Let me walk you through how RAG works. It's actually pretty brilliant. Step 1, you ask your family AI chatbot a question. But wait, before the AI even thinks about answering, your question gets zipped over to a vector database. This database could be filled with anything, maybe all of your company's private documents, for instance. Step 2, the database instantly finds the documents that are most related to your question. Step 3, it takes those relevant documents and shoves them into the AI's context, right alongside your original question. And finally, step 4, the AI generates its answer. But now, it's using all that extra super relevant information. The result is a way smarter and more accurate response. So here's the bottom line, the real game changer. RAG lets an AI tap into knowledge it was never trained on. We're talking about private company data, real-time information from the web, super specialized manuals, you name it. This makes the AI's answers so much more accurate, so much more trustworthy. The vector database basically becomes the AI's external hard drive, its specialized, searchable brain. And because this is such a powerful idea, we are right in the middle of an absolute explosion of investment and innovation in this space. It's a genuine boom. I mean, just look at the landscape. You've got startups like Pinecone and Weaviate raising incredible amounts of money. You've got open source projects like Milvis and Chroma just blowing up in popularity. And you've even got the huge, established players scrambling to add vector search capabilities to their products. Believe me, this is not some niche little trend. This is quickly becoming a core, fundamental piece of how we build software.
And it's not just for chatbots, not by a long shot. You know when Netflix or Amazon recommends something that's so perfect it feels like they're reading your mind? Yep, that's vector search under the hood. It's what allows for amazing things like searching for a shirt using a picture of one you like, or finding a song just by describing its vibe. It's all about finding those connections, that similar meaning across any kind of data you can imagine. Text, images, audio, you name it.
So all of this kind of leads to one big, fascinating question for the future. Our world is just getting filled with more and more complex data, right? Not neat spreadsheets, but messy stuff like images, audio clips, and really nuanced conversations. In a world like that, is searching by meaning just a nice-to-have feature, or is it becoming the only way that makes any sense? It really feels like the only logical path forward. Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.